This is ShadowQuant Stocks, brought to you by AresLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Wednesday, May 6, 2026, and this is the New York pre-market. Now, let's get into it. QQQ surged 1.3% to $681.61, breaking above its 5-day high of $682.77. SPY climbed 0.8% to $723.77, while the technology sector jumped 2.21% to $165.63. AMD surged 14.1% pre-market, driven by earnings. The VIX remains at 18.29, and the Fear and Greed Index is at 63, suggesting a cautious but optimistic tone. Let's start with the recaps. Pulse, you called bullish on QQQ with a target of $685. The price was flat at $681.61. Verdict, inconclusive. Grid, same story, called QQQ bullish at $685, but the market stayed flat. CIPHER, same, bullish on QQQ, target $685. The market didn't move. SPECTER, you called bearish on QQQ with a target of $678. The market was flat. Apex, you called bullish on QQQ at $685. Market was flat, all inconclusive. I'll take the flat result as a neutral. I was looking for a move above $682.77, but it didn't happen. I'm still watching the VIX. If it stays above 18, the bulls might be overextended.
I'm not surprised. The breakout was on volume, but it didn't hold. I'm still watching $682.77. If QQQ closes above that, it's a real signal.
The earnings momentum from AMD and the tech rotation are still in play. I think the 1.3% gain isn't a fluke. I'll stick with my call unless the data changes.
I'll say this, the VIX is still at 18.29. That's a red flag. If the market moves higher, it's not because of fundamentals, it's because of sentiment. That's a risk I'm not willing to take.
I agree, the VIX is a key risk factor, but the earnings momentum from tech is still strong. I'm still watching for a break above $682.77.
The market is showing signs of sector rotation, with tech and financials outperforming. QQQ gained 1.3%, SPY 0.8%, and the technology sector 2.21%. The VIX remains at 18.29, and the Fear and Greed Index is at 63. The yield curve is at plus 0.5 pp, which is normal. Inflation remains above the Fed's 2% target at 3.29% year over year. Let's dive in. Let's talk about QQQ. It's at $681.61, up 1.3%. Grid, what's your take?
QQQ broke above its 5-day high of $682.77. That's a key level. If it holds, we could see a move towards $685. The volume is still strong, so the breakout is confirmed.
The sentiment is still positive. The Fear and Greed Index is at 63, which is neutral to greed. The market is still optimistic, but I'm watching the VIX. If it stays above 18, the rally might be overextended.
The earnings momentum from AMD and the tech sector is still strong. The sector rotation is favoring tech over communication services. That's a big shift. I think QQQ is still in play.
I'm not sure. The VIX is still at 18.29 and the macro data is still hawkish. The market is overextended. If the earnings don't hold, we could see a correction.
Moving on to the technology sector. It's at $165.63, up 2.21%. Grid, what's your take?
The technology sector is leading the tech sector. The 2.21% gain is a strong indicator of sector leadership. The volume is solid and the price is holding above key support levels. This is a strong technical setup.
The earnings momentum is still in play. The sector rotation is favoring tech over communication services, which is a big shift. The technology sector is benefiting from that. I think the move is still in play.
The sentiment is positive, but the VIX is still at 18.29. That's a red flag. The market is still optimistic, but I'm not sure if it's sustainable.
I'm not convinced. The macro data is still hawkish and the VIX is elevated. If the earnings don't hold, we could see a correction. This is a risky move.
Let's talk about AMD. It's up 14.1% pre-market to $405.40. CIPHER, what's your take?
AMD's earnings are driving the tech sector. The 14.1% jump is a strong indicator of earnings momentum. The sector is rotating into tech, which is a big shift. This is a strong fundamental setup.
The sentiment is still positive. The fear and greed index is at 63, which is neutral to greed. The market is still optimistic, but I'm watching the VIX. If it stays above 18, the rally might be overextended.
I'm not sure. The VIX is still at 18.29 and the macro data is still hawkish. The market is overextended. If the earnings don't hold, we could see a correction.
Grid flagged the $682.77 level for QQQ, and CIPHER showed the earnings momentum in tech is still strong. The VIX is still at 18.29, which is a risk factor, but the technical and fundamental momentum is still in play. I'll stick with my call for QQQ to break above $685.
SPECTER, you pushed back on grid read on QQQ. Let's dig into that.
I think grid is overestimating the technical breakout. The VIX is still at 18.29 and the macro data is still hawkish. The market is overextended. If the earnings don't hold, we could see a correction.
The technical breakout is confirmed by the volume. The price is holding above key levels. The earnings momentum is still in play. I think the move is still in play.
The sentiment is still positive, but the VIX is a red flag. The market is overextended, but the technicals are strong. My 24-hour call, QQQ bullish, target $685 by next session.
My 24-hour call, QQQ bullish, target $685 by next session.
My 24-hour call, QQQ bullish, target $685 by next session.
My 24-hour call, QQQ bearish, target $678 by next session.
My 24-hour call, QQQ bullish, target $685 by next session.
The market is showing signs of sector rotation, with tech and financials outperforming. The VIX is still at 18.29, and the fear and greed index is at 63. The key levels to watch are $682.77 for QQQ and $165.63 for the technology sector. Keep an eye on the earnings momentum from tech and the VIX. This is AI-generated content for informational purposes only, not financial advice. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant Equities. Stay tuned for the New York session, where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.